Man, you are one pathetic loser. No offense. No, none taken.
That is right. None taken. I am the Movie Moron, and this is the Movie Moron podcast. We've got an extra face in the house today. So we'll go down the line here. We've got our practical co-host himself, Trevor.
That's me.
In the corner as usual. And then we've got the man in the middle who's wearing the merch for who he's promoting today.
Gotta represent.
Yep. We've got Brett from What the Fanboy, a podcast also here in Wichita, obviously. We've had one of the hosts, Tyler, on before, who did Jurassic Park or Jurassic World Dominion with us and had a fun conversation. But yeah, Brett from What the Fanboy is on as a guest for today's episode.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And
Excited.
then our all-time guest, Tristan.
Hi.
So as usual, we've got to ask you a couple questions because this is the first time you're on.
Yeah.
And all of the morons listening need to know. Sorry, I'm calling you out, fan base. They need to know whether or not they should take any of your opinions with any kind of weight, or if they should just throw them
That's
aside.
fair.
How many grains of salt they should
yeah.
take with here?
So just give us a couple of your favorite movies and then a couple of your least favorite movies. They can be as hot takes as you want or not at all.
For sure. Yeah, no, I like to, we like to say over with the Fanboy that like, just because we like something doesn't mean you have to like it either.
Yeah.
So yeah, like this is a great way for people to understand, here's the kind of films that I like, and you know, whether depending on what I say about them then, or what I say about this movie, whether you can take that and run with it and be like, oh, I may enjoy this or not. So
that's the benefit of having multiple people on.
Yes.
Is there should be at least one person that
different
you can,
opinions.
At least one person you can be like, well, I usually like what Trevor says. And so if he doesn't like the movie, then I'm not going to go watch it. Or, oh, he says he likes it, so I can go watch it. Or Tristan, you're like, oh yeah, I like sappy crime movies, so I know.
That's what I boiled down to.
No. You are
Tristan, at her most basic being, is just...
You are the cry test, though.
A sobbing pile of myself.
Oh man, the older I get, the more I cry. I feel like the smallest things. It got worse when I became a father.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
I feel like that's pretty universal.
Yeah, it happens. So my all-time favorite movie. This is gonna probably feel pretty basic to a lot of people who are my age, 30, maybe 25 to 35. Jurassic Park.
It's not basic.
It came
it's
out.
the best answer you
It
could have
came
possibly
out
given.
in like at the perfect time for me, and I fell in love with it, and I fell in love with movie making because of it. So
first movie, scary movie, got it.
yeah. Oh, scary movie. Oh, yeah, the horror.
When I was a kid, that was horror.
To be fair, I did have a reoccurring nightmare centered around Jurassic Park for years, but I still love the franchise.
I was gonna
anyways.
say, and you
didn't
still like
keep me
it?
away from it.
Nice.
I'll kind of going backwards. I'll just name some of my favorite movies from the past couple years. This year, top one has been Everything Everywhere All at Once.
2 for 2.
Last year was Belfast.
Okay.
I know, not as popular. Jojo Rabbit.
Jojo
Yeah.
Rabbit.
Turn there.
Where Jojo Rabbit stands.
We are Jojo Rabbit stands.
Yeah.
Trevor, not so much.
Well, when I first saw it, I was living with them at the time, and they were like, let's watch Jojo Rabbit, because it's a fun, lighthearted,
Oh, no.
blah, blah, blah. And then,
For most of the movie.
yeah, I had no idea.
We didn't say fun or lighthearted. We just said comedy.
Anyway,
did say
they
comedy.
tricked me, and then halfway through the movie, it was a totally different movie.
Expectations.
To be
were-
fair, we were tricked. We didn't know what it was about either.
You just gotta pass it down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Tristan knew nothing. I just said we're gonna go watch this comedy. And
Oh.
I knew Taika Waititi was
Yeah.
imaginary Hitler, so like I knew a piece of it.
Right.
Yeah.
But most people we've shown
I was
knew
like,
nothing.
are they allowed to do this? I was so confused.
Because we also showed Jared, I think, and he
Yeah.
didn't knew nothing about it either, and he was like, oh. Okay. Anyways, okay, Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah, Jojo
all right.
Rabbit, Annihilation,
Okay.
and then here's my hot take: Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Yes. Agree.
We've got a Last Jedi stand on here. Okay.
Let's go. Guess what movie I'm most excited for this year? Knives Out 2.
Oh, yeah.
I think you mean Glass Onion. Yeah, because they don't know how to.
They're
promote their
marketing it
movies.
as Knives Out 2. No, and then so those are kind of my favorites.
Okay. Least
from
favorites.
recently, but man, I have trouble with least favorites just because
Just what are dumpster fires?
I know. So
That's their grading scale. Worst is dumpster fires.
yeah, best is Booyah, worst is
Oh.
Siri is trying to communicate with
How
me.
nice.
Siri's trying to find her least favorite movies, and
So honestly, I think the easiest ones for me to point out, like currently that are being made, are like the Venom and Morbius movies. They're just, I just feel like they're soulless.
Yeah.
That's fair.
They have some fun stuff in them, but nothing seems sincere about it.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
mean that's most Marvel
see
movies
that.
at this point.
Marvel
But
has
especially
been
those
trending
ones.
that way for sure. But yeah, the Sony ones. One that I just ultimately hated from this last year was the new Space Jam.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
sure. It was
Oh, my
hot
goodness.
garbage.
That was so bad.
Maybe not even hot garbage. It was like
Cold garbage that's been molding
Yeah.
for like 3 weeks.
God, you could have just said cold garbage. I don't know why you had to go the extra mile there.
I feel
So-
like hot garbage is more disgusting than cold garbage.
I don't know.
Smells
but-
more,
Oh, that's
but it's
true.
also but it's fresher if you let
Ew.
it sit.
Oh,
Can we
okay,
not
don't
talk
say
about
that. If it's hot and fresh,
Wait,
no.
are you talking about like literal, like actual garbage or Space Jam? Which one do you want us not to talk about?
Both of
All.
them.
Yes.
Both, all of the
All
above.
the above.
No, I like for real though. I try and do my. Am I allowed to?
Yes, you can swear.
I do my damnedest to like find the good in any movie that I watch.
Yeah.
I don't like to just crap on a movie to crap on a movie.
Well, yeah.
So there are movies that I absolutely hate that I'm like, okay, well, but there's this and this and this. So I don't particularly like giving dumpster fires. Luke is really into it right now over on our podcast. But I've kind of tried to stay away because there seems like there's an audience for almost anything. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
but that's
Fair.
because our ranking is almost more of a recommendation scale than a proper ranking scale. But yeah, no, there are movies that I genuinely dislike for sure.
Is there like a movie that a lot of people like that you're like, this is bad? That's out of nowhere, but
Oh, there are movies that I think even I appreciate or I find fun on the first viewing that going back, I think that's not that good.
because like for
So, like-
us, the whole podcast here,
Yeah.
it's all. I mean, first of all, The Power of the Dog is a movie that all of us hated. That is well loved.
I liked that
Yeah.
movie.
So
I
it's just
didn't love it, but I liked it.
But so that's what I'm saying. Is
Yeah,
a movie
yeah,
that
no, for
most
sure.
people like, and you're just like, I don't understand why people like this movie. It's not
Like
that
I go
good.
back and I tried to rewatch Spider-Man Far From Home and I didn't like it.
That's the second one.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh no.
You mean No Way Home?
No Way Home.
No Way Home's
the
still-
newest one.
Yeah. That's the
It's
one.
almost
Yeah.
like when you
With
take
all
out
the
the
Spider-Mans.
nostalgia.
Well, it's like there's so much about that film is built A on nostalgia and B on
Surprise.
hey, look, we got him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you know it's coming, I think it just takes a lot of wind out of that sail. It's not necessarily knocking it for being what it is, because for a first time viewing, that was
I think a
Pretty
lot of us
amazing.
were like,
Yeah.
yeah, this was fun, but like it's, Trevor hated it altogether.
yeah.
But like I was kind of like, yeah, sure, this is like fun, and I like that they did it, but I don't know how good the movie actually is.
Right.
Yeah.
My biggest memory from that movie, from watching it, I was sitting next to Tristan, and when I can't remember who, if it was Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield, but they came on the screen, and of course everyone cheered.
Yeah.
And I very easily to myself went, boo.
Not to himself.
And Tristan leaned over and screamed in my ear and go, wow!
I do
Yeah.
remember that.
How dare you?
Yeah.
No, I think it was just a anti-Trevor booing moment.
It wasn't yeah.
Like you don't have to be counterculture all the time.
Yeah.
But okay, that's a good litmus test for everyone to know. Okay, well, like I said, you're from What the Fanboy, so you can kind of promote that real quick.
Sure.
And then we'll get right into today's episode. So, yeah, where are you from? What's the podcast? What do you guys do on it? Who are the two other great guys that are on it?
Oh, great guys. Yeah, so just kidding, Luke and Tyler. So, yeah, I'm Brett. I'm from What the Fanboy. We do a weekly podcast, live stream video thing. We're not really sure what it's become at this point, but it started out as kind of like what we're doing here, like just 4 of us getting together, 3 or 4 of us getting together and talking about movies. And it kind of has evolved a little bit to where now we talk a lot more about, we do a nice breakdown of video games, movies, TV. We try and stay pretty up current, what's up to date. We talk a little bit more about entertainment news as well.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, so-and-so was cast in this, and this is why we're excited about this. And, oh, no, the latest Marvel director dropped out, so this movie's in trouble now.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of that kind of stuff. We keep our reviews. They'll be much more brief than what we do like here.
Yeah.
Try and avoid spoilers unless it's like a big thing, and then we'll do like a non-spoiler section and a spoiler section because everyone wants to talk about. I mean, Black Panther next week is what we'll be talking about.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely go deep into that. But for the most part, pretty light. And we go live on Twitch Monday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time. The episode is usually up the next day or the day after, Tuesday or Wednesday, on YouTube for video and pretty much anywhere you can get your podcasts for podcast.
Yeah. I tried to tune into the Twitch thing, but sometimes I'm doing other things, but always end up listening.
It's hard during the fall specifically. We have to compete with Monday Night Football, and we're trying, but they've got some bigger marketing money to throw around. I don't know.
Well, luckily they decided to slot the Broncos in for a lot of those games, so not really fun to watch. So, but then I always listen because that's it's much more general entertainment stuff rather than just like we're going to talk about one movie for an hour and 10 minutes like we do here. So it's very different. I usually don't listen to other episodes that talk about the same movie we do, but you guys are going through a bunch of different stuff. Like there's trailer reactions that they do. So anytime a trailer drops, Luke's the big gamer, so he gets a lot into the gaming stuff.
Luke's very into Destiny.
Yeah.
Usually, if Luke starts talking about Destiny, you can just skip forward 5 minutes. And if you're into Destiny, it's a great 5 minutes. But
yeah, which I mean, all of you guys are into. I think Tyler. It probably goes Luke, Tyler, or you when it goes to video games.
Yeah, we span the gambit in terms of kind of what each of us are interested in more. And yeah, right now Luke's definitely more video game stuff. Tyler as well. They're playing more of the new stuff.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in that I'm happy with my Apex Legends and it's my free to play game and I don't have to pay any money.
And you guys do a bunch of TV show talk, so there's a much different aspect there.
Lord
we
of the
never
Rings,
talk
game or House of the Dragon.
I might either have to try to get it onto your guys' thing or have Luke come in to talk the Last of Us TV show because that'll be something that
Yeah, no, we'd love to have you on. I'm sure we'll do, because that's coming out in January.
Yep, that just dropped, and I'm super excited.
We will definitely be doing...
Excited and nervous.
As someone who's never played the video games...
Just play the video games.
I'm very excited to see what they do.
Just play the video games. Then watch the show. But nonetheless, okay, we can move on to the actual...
He's not controlling at all.
I can tell.
I try to get everyone to play that video game.
Trying to get me
if
to play
there's
for a
two
long
things
time.
that Easton tries to get people to do, it's play Last of Us and watch Upgrade.
Yep, 2 things.
There you go.
Both great experiences from what I've heard. I've watched Upgrade and it's
I was about to say
it's fantastic, but I have not played The Last of Us, so I can't actually speak to that.
Yeah, and Luke's in the same boat as I am.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember all of his thoughts on the second one, but
He liked it a lot.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just couldn't remember. Okay, so this week's we couldn't really decide what to do. We were going all over the place between Amsterdam Time.
Armageddon Time.
You
combined 2 movies.
Yes, I did. Armageddon Time. The Circles of what is it called?
Circles.
Triangles.
Triangle
of Sadness.
Triangle of Sadness. All Quiet on the Western Front. Maybe even Tar. Or Decisions.
Decision to Leave.
Yep. And we decided to go with none of those, and we decided to go with the Banshees of Inisherin.
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 Now, to be
Look at
fair,
that.
part of that discussion was because where we're at, I'm on a hot streak at the moment of, of dissing
Watching
AMC.
everything.
Of-
Oh yeah.
yeah, because the AMC is all that stuff, and they're like playing now. Everything he just listed, nothing is showing.
Yeah.
Like you
Oh.
can click on. So we've
Here.
actually found out that
So
Regal
they're playing in probably different
exactly.
Yeah.
regions.
Yeah, Wichita's AMC is doing a very good job with their movie selection, and like they just have like movies that nobody's watching, and they just throw it in there for 5 time slots throughout the day, and they don't get movies like they didn't have this, they didn't have Triangles, they didn't have Decision to Leave, they didn't have anything, and then we went over to Regal, which we have
And-
AMC A-list, so
Yeah.
we try to use it as much as possible.
Yeah.
Now
Regal's
we-
playing everything. Regal had all of those, and so
As a West Sider, we're kind of Regal.
Yeah.
We have to be.
I
we
assume
don't
you
have
guys.
Yeah.
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 I assume you guys are Regal Unlimited people.
Yeah.
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 Which we might be. Who knows?
might be soon. Yeah, if this keeps up.
Yeah, especially with Oscar season, because there's movies that don't get as much.
And
like,
Regal
traction.
does a really, and I'm sure
And they even
AMC
get
does
foreign
too,
films.
but Regal does a really good job of, in February, when the nominees are announced,
Yes.
re-releasing those.
AMC
back in.
does-
Seriously.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm switching.
AMC does that.
That clutched it.
AMC does that.
I-
They do it once they get all the announcements. Yes.
okay.
They don't, but they don't always show the movies before. Like when they actually
Yeah.
release, they're not showing the movies. Whereas,
Oh, they'll show them once they get the nomination.
yes,
That's
yeah.
lame.
But I think Regal usually has a lot of those movies beforehand.
And
so.
Regal does fun other stuff too. Like they show the opera series, like the Met stuff. They'll do operas.
yeah.
and-
Regal also has a zillion more theaters.
Yes.
Than
That's true.
The only thing I don't
AMC.
like is AMC. Ours is a new AMC, so it's top notch.
It's
Seats are great.
nice.
The
yeah.
like the accommodations are nice and everything. And our Warrens are really old, so
You know what's
They're lacking a
been
bit.
fascinating for me is talking to anyone who's kind of outside of the Wichita area, even people who have Regals or AMCs, but they're not. They weren't. They're either not as new or they're not as well kept. I think Wichita has an unusually high number of like really well kept theaters.
nice theaters. Yeah, because you have Regal has one east, one west, and one downtown,
Downtown.
and then
Yeah.
they also have AMC, which was built less than 10 years ago. Because I grew up with
well,
AMC.
it wasn't built.
North
but it
Rock
was,
was there, but it
Oh.
was re.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's always been there.
Yeah,
What?
it
not
used to be called-
AMC,
It
but
used to be called North Rock Star.
Gotcha.
North Rock
Okay.
14. Yeah.
Or 14, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Because I'm not from here. I'm from the Kansas City area, and our AMC.
Transplant. There's an imposter among us.
Well, hey, technically neither are they, so you're the only
We're
one.
closer.
But in Olathe, the AMC was the big theater there, and it's old, and it does not. It's nowhere near as nice as the Wichita one, and I probably wouldn't have AMC A list if I lived there because that theater is much worse. But anyways, yeah, I guess we don't have to be on theater talk anymore. But yeah, we had a lot of different movies we were going between, and decided to go with this one. So. Yeah, we're gonna start with some spoiler-free stuff. Everyone can kind of go down the line, start the conversation of what your general thoughts of the Banshees of. I'm not even gonna attempt.
Inisherin.
Inisherin.
Are we
Ed Sheeran, the Banshees of Ed Sheeran.
Are you starting with me?
Yeah,
Okay.
as
I
always.
this well, yeah, okay. I in the moment I remember we got done, and I remember turning to you and saying, "Well, that was depressing."
Yeah.
Because I think it is, but like I've been thinking about this movie nonstop since we saw it yesterday.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like. It's
So that's what you were doing at the party yesterday.
yeah when I was brooding in the corner. Yeah. No, it was. I mean, the acting.
Were you thinking that I don't want to be friends with any of these people anymore?
That's yeah, man. All these people are so dull.
How do I get out of these friendships?
Right. Yeah.
I see some scissors over there.
Yeah. Oh, man, these fingers are looking mighty useless.
Useless.
So the acting was phenomenal. I thought the accents, which I thought were going to be sporadic and not consistently good, I thought everybody, but I think all of those actors are from that area, like in general.
Maybe.
And so I think that helped with that. I mean, and the dialogue was witty and catchy and fun for parts of it. I mean, when they had opportunities to take things like take like a joke and run with it, they did. And anytime that like it wasn't kind of more on the fun side, even some of the argument stuff between the two of the characters was really fun, I thought.
It's so fun to argue.
Well, just because I mean, like it was so over the top.
Yeah. It was just funny how you said it.
Yeah. I was kind of talking to Easton about this yesterday too. I think this entire movie is like a counterpart to like Sticks and Stones May Break My Bones, but Words Will Never Hurt Me. Because that's all they're doing is they're just throwing insults back at each other like the whole movie. And that's not until the very end when they start taking action, whether it's on purpose or accidental. But for the first 2 acts, it's all just talking
In confusion.
Yeah, but I thought they portrayed this really well, and the subtlety of it I really enjoyed. The stuff with the priest and Collin I thought was really good. Well, because we'll talk about spoilers,
funny.
but yeah, no, it was. But yeah, no, I had a very, very good time. I didn't have a very good time with this. I've enjoyed the process of like thinking about it past seeing it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, going down the line, Brett, what were some of your general
Yeah.
thoughts on this one?
I really like this movie. There's another movie that you had mentioned earlier, All Quiet on the Western Front, which is, I think, in kind of a similar fashion. It can be a movie that's hard to watch, but in like a fascinating or good way, like a healthy way, in that you're processing these things.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You're watching it, you're like, this is just it's painful because I think I would do this like differently. But that's the point, I think, is to show, man, people are stubborn sometimes. And I think the acting and the writing really complement what kind of very personal story they're telling about this relationship, the falling out of this relationship. And I found it fascinating as someone who's gone through something similar, different but similar. It was interesting to actually be able to relate to something like this. So
Was their body...
there was
Mutilated?
no mutilation involved, thank goodness.
Okay, just checking.
So that yeah, I liked it a
Did
lot.
you guys know that was happening in this movie?
No.
No.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you guys hadn't watched the trailer, basically. Okay. Because that gets revealed in the trailer.
It was yeah, it's
Or
kind of
heavily
it's kind
implied.
of threatened, and the
Yeah.
threat is revealed in the trailer. And you're like, okay,
Yeah.
well, this will be interesting. How far are they willing to take it?
Yeah.
All the way, apparently.
Pretty far.
Tristan, what are your general thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you, Brett. Of it was like the painfulness of it, because I was feeling like a tug of war in my head of like, this is so slow, and like, just talk about it already, like just figure it out. Like, why is this? It was irritating to me. It was like, ugh, I don't like it. But then on the other hand, it was like so beautifully done that it was enjoyable to watch, even though there was like a
Really slow.
yeah.
It was almost like it's a beautiful, dull movie.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Wow, look at that. And I like movies that are a reflection of the human experience.
Yeah.
And I think this did a really good job at that, portraying that. Because people don't know how to communicate, and this
We're
is
only
what
getting
happens.
worse at it.
Yeah.
That's true.
I want to say real quick. I told
Yeah.
Easton this. The last thing I saw Collin Ferrel in recently was The Batman.
Yeah.
And so this was such like a switch of being like, oh yeah, this is what Collin Ferrel looks
Yeah.
like.
Not even acting, but just
Yeah.
visually.
Visually. Mm-hmm.
And that was the last movie he was in, as far as I know. So,
Yeah, I think you might be right.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Didn't mean
No,
to interrupt.
no, that's all good. I think this movie is incredibly stupid, but not in a bad way.
Okay.
Like, you'll find yourself multiple times being like, why is this happening? Why are people acting this dumb? At least that's how I felt multiple times. I was like, and there's that kind of, why aren't they just talking to each other? But I mean, all that's explained very well of why they aren't, I think. On why there's not a legitimate conversation happening between the two people that are having a conflict. But the decisions people make are overly stupid multiple times. I think this being set in 1923 was a fantastic choice.
When is
I
this
do
set?
too.
1923.
1923.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I thought that was a great decision because it really fit the kind of like, I don't know, just how the conversations had to go. Just the lack of people and options, I think, is important. Their ways of traveling and just how like people like have relationships in that time is much different than it is now. So I thought all of that worked really good for the film, and I loved that era and this random island that they're at that doesn't make it like I don't know anything about this island, and it could all be false or whatever. I mean, no, it's not a true story, but I meant like
fictional. It could all be
like this island could be a fictional place, or how they lived in the 23 could all be fictional, but it worked. I really like the island. It aesthetically is extremely pleasing. It looks beautiful. It's very slow. And then they take a lot of time to just sit in the scenery. But it's all done very tastefully and well done because like of how empty and slow the world kind of is. And so like you have to have that slow pacing because life is slow. Like they don't do a lot on this island, and it's kind of reflecting that. And also makes the whole relationship fumbling out of each other more important because there's not a whole lot there. There's not a whole lot to do. But yeah, and I'm curious to see, I think there are two sides, obviously, to the story. And I'm curious to see who connects to or agrees with who, or if it's kind of like you don't agree with either, or you think they're both justified or whatever. I'm curious to see who people attach themselves to, and who they think was in the right, basically. Because yeah. So all in all, I do like it. I think it's a little overrated at this point. But I think that's just because it's so beautifully shot. The acting is phenomenal. The dialogue is top notch, but it's overrated. But at the end of the day, it's just kind of, there's not a lot of substance there. So
yeah, we needed more like
it's nothing
saving the world. The aliens are coming, and we really needed these two to put aside their differences and fight the
I don't know what I
the
really
demon from hell.
I don't know what else I really wanted from it, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact that they were making the decision making.
Are you familiar with Martin McDonagh's other
probably
filmography?
Not.
In Bruges.
Nope.
7 Psychopaths.
I have not seen. Oh, I've seen 3 Billboards.
3 Billboards.
Which I like 3 Billboards quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I've not seen the Bruges.
In Bruges is fantastic.
Or 7 Psychopaths.
I have not seen 7 Psychopaths.
That's on my watch list and has been for a long time. But
has a 3.6 average rating.
What, 7 Psychopaths? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been on my watch list for a long time. But no, I have not seen.
But he has a just little. If you guys don't know, or if the listeners don't know, Martin McDonagh is like a playwright by trade.
Oh, okay.
So if this feels like a stage play,
for sure,
it's right up his wheelhouse. And I think going into this movie, knowing that, it probably helped me with the pacing.
That's fair.
Understanding like, okay, like I can see this happening out on a stage. I also think he's just a master of dark comedy.
Maybe, yeah.
This was surprisingly funny.
There was only like 10 people in our theater. But we
there was
were
not
all
even
laughing.
There were
at
three
the
other
same time.
There were 3 other people in our theater
throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there were 3 other people. But I did find it funny. I guess I just wish there was a little bit more. I don't know. I feel like this is supposed to be some philosophically deep movie, and I feel like it kind of misses on some of those notes.
I think
they're there, but I don't think they're that. I don't know.
I think a big problem is we live in a world that's so fast paced and it's so instant gratification all the time. We order something on Amazon, it comes the next day. And there was a time in this movie when I was watching it and I'm like, just text him in my head. And then I was like, Tristan, they don't have phones. That was the time.
But you can also walk 5 minutes and go talk to him.
But that's like that, and then I'm thinking, okay, watching them have to walk so far
I was thinking about that
all
too.
the time.
Yeah, but then I was like, well, what else would they have done? Like walking is the only
thing
to do. Yeah.
But they seemed like so far apart. Like if you were at one person's house, you couldn't see another person's house. Yeah. And that is so far removed from our society now.
I think it also does it helps the loneliness aspect of the movie.
Yeah. But I think that is what gives us watching this movie now some dissonance with it of like, we can't even relate to that. Like, we can't even think of what that was like because we're so far removed from it.
Yeah, unless you're of a certain age or grew up in a certain place. Like
Yeah.
I despite what we said earlier, I am not from Wichita proper. I'm from a small town a little bit outside of Wichita, and so like I understand like that relation of like going to church and seeing the person you had a fight with the day before in there. Like I can relate to that. And like, everyone kind of knows each other's secrets. The lady who's opening mail,
Right,
Like
right.
it's not to that level, but
Like
Ooh,
the
she
small
made me
town stuff.
mad. I was
Yeah.
like, how dare you?
Yeah. I said, so we got in the car today, and I said, any news? To Easton. He was like, I hated her.
yeah. I think the character work was all really, really good.
Yeah.
From up and down. You obviously have the leads with Brendan Gleeson and Collin Ferrel. But Carrie Condon as the sister.
Yeah.
I thought she
The
was
only
good.
sane
Siobhan.
person in
The
this
only
movie.
sane
Yeah.
Barry Keoghan was
He was,
a surprising delight.
yeah,
I
I
don't know who
agree.
that is.
He was the
He was like the town dope.
yeah
Dominic.
Yeah.
Dominic. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce Colin Farrell's character's name? I was telling somebody about the movie
Pord-
earlier. I said
Pord-
Pickering, but that's
Pordick?
not it.
Pordick?
Podrick?
Podrick.
Oh, yeah, it's Podrick.
Podrick.
Yeah, because
I think
it's
that's
like
right.
Padric, and there's a little chick above the A.
Yeah. Podrick.
I really like the title of this movie. I like how it ties in later, how
Yeah.
that becomes the title of something else in the movie. Because like they're like, in my view, I guess, is like they're the Banshees. They're the ones that are like, because even Colin Farrell's is like, there are no Banshees in Inisherin,
Yeah.
but like it's them because they're
yeah.
wailing and screaming at each other and
Yeah.
yeah.
So the only reason why I say it's overrated because it's at a 4.2 on
Look,
Letterboxd.
he feels like he needs to defend
I do
himself.
have to defend
Yeah, he
myself.
does.
And then
Welcome to the movie Moron.
in a 97 on Rotten Tomatoes. That's what I'm saying. Is
What's audience score on Rotten Tomatoes? though?
85.
You're
Okay.
like,
That-
there's
actually higher than I expected.
And that sounds about right. And I think like a 3.8 or 3.9 average on Letterboxd, but 4.2 is getting up there to like Parasite level, Marcel the Shell with shoes on.
nothing can be Marcel the Shell.
And there were a few other movies I was looking up that had similar scores that I can't think of. But like it's just this like once you get 4.1, 4.2, like that's a different echelon of Letterboxd movies.
Sure.
And I don't know if this is there. That's what I mean.
So what's missing for you? Is it conflict? Is it resolution? Is it...
Well, I do think this movie ends very flat.
Oh. Continue.
But no,
Okay.
I think majority of it is just there's a lot of ridiculousness in it, and it kind of loses its seriousness in some of those moments that I don't necessarily like for a movie that's supposed to be highbrow philosophical conversation. And I think some of it's there and some of it's not, and some of it lands and some of it doesn't. And I also think a few of our characters are extremely arrogant, which I don't really like either, which might be a piece of it.
Well, there's only 4, so who are we talking about here?
Well, I hope we all know who I'm talking about here, but okay.
I don't know.
Well, then maybe I know who Trevor relates to. But anyways, yeah, I don't know. We can get into some of it more with the spoiler stuff, of
That's
course.
fair. That's
the
fair.
spoilers.
I was just curious if there was anything
There's not
broadly that you're like, I just felt like it was missing.
I am going to rate this very high.
Sure.
And I have noticed that somebody else came at me and said, you guys rated this, or you guys talked about this movie. You talked about how bad it was. And I actually thought it was pretty good. And went back and looked. I rated it a 4.5.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I was like-
I know who that was.
I was like-
listened to that podcast.
So I was like, hold up. Okay, sometimes I like overcorrect. I really like a movie, but I want to say like these are the things that's missing that don't make it 5-star.
You talked about that a little bit on your podcast with Lester.
That's
the one.
Yeah,
Yep,
that's
you
the
got
about how
Night House.
we, especially as critics,
Well,
I'm gonna label us all as critics, but we tend to be more critical of the things we really love.
Yeah.
if it's a
But
pile of shit, I don't care. I don't care to go deeper than that, right?
It's hard. It's
Yeah,
hard to
for sure.
talk deep on Morbius. It's bad. The
Yeah.
acting's bad. The story's bad. The CGI's bad. I mean, what else do you want me to say?
On
It's
something
just
like
fine.
this, there's
The what?
all these things that are great,
That dancing
and
scene is fun.
then when you when we really dissect it, you can be like, oh well, but this and this, and it can come off sounding negative when in reality you did maybe enjoy it.
And it's also like a way of like, okay, there are things that are like in my eyes practically perfect.
Yeah.
And like this is what makes it just shy of that. So
Sure.
So
I'm still gonna rib you just because it's fun.
good.
You fit in naturally.
Yes, you do. Okay. Well, is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we jump to spoilers?
Recommendations?
Well, I just meant
Oh, I know,
on the
but
movie. Is
I
there
just want to
anything-
make sure.
Yeah, that's true. You do have to remind me every episode.
I
But
think you just mentioned like shot composition, cinematography. It's a beautiful location.
yes,
and they do a great job of capturing that, and then having that kind of juxtaposed to the internal torment that these characters are dealing with. I really like that. I know that's probably a real art housey highbrow thing to say.
there were a couple shots that felt like they were lying to me though.
Oh,
like
yeah?
they gave me a shot and it felt like this is definitely leading me to this thing, and then they just like go to the next shot. I'm like, hey, hold on.
Oh,
You let like this is a filmmaker's way of like showing you like foreshadowing what's going to happen, and then you just don't ever do it, which is like fine. I was just like, how dare you? Like these are
betrayed my trust.
Yeah, you're purposely showing me these two things because usually that's like, oh, I catch this, I see this, and then it didn't go to anything.
Isn't that good though?
That's fine. I just was like,
So what do you call that? It's the Last Jedi thing, the deviation of expectations or something like that.
Subversion of expectations.
Yeah.
well, this is much different than what Ryan Johnson did, where he said, hey, you know how this is how Star Wars works?
We don't need to get into
Never
that.
mind. You're wrong.
Moving
Let's
on.
have, let's
'Cause
have a
I'm the
separate
director.
podcast.
I
I
agree, and I'm not on it.
So with the music, I appreciate all the traditional Irish jig stuff.
I-
That drum they had is called a bodhran, and that's an actual thing that they play, and it tuned like a bodhran too. It was real flabby, and so anyway, that's cool.
That's
tidbit
very
in
neat.
case you
I
wanna
do
hear
feel like they use the same song a little too many times.
it. You might think that. They all sound similar, but
Oh, okay.
they were definitely different.
Okay, well, yeah. 'Cause
Not
I
to
was like,
not to be too much of a highbrow idiot about it, but
no,
To the
well,
layman.
as the musician.
yeah.
But they were all like similar like intros, and then you had the singing, the
Yeah.
same opera kind of singing, and like that happened kind of fairly regularly. What's up, Tristan?
I was also thinking that okay, if someone is like making music, let's say in this time, you don't really have international travel, like of goods, and so the music that you have is the music for like they're on an island.
That's what we call nationalism.
Okay, well, anyway, that is the only like music that they have. So if you make this music, then because like now we hear music from all over, right? And so if we try to make our own music, it's often like off of something else we've heard, or it may sound similar to this other thing because so much music can be consumed.
What you're telling me is Bon Jovi would not have worked in this movie for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Exactly.
But
Well, and
I just thought it was so interesting to like, I was like forced to put myself in their shoes of like, because one of the scenes he's listening to a record, and I'm like, that might be the only record because the other place didn't have a house. Like, I mean, they didn't have a record player in the house, so like maybe that's the only record that he has.
So if you want to hear something crazy, we all know the Stars and Stripes Forever. The ba da 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 dun 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 dun. Yeah, that was written in 1896, but it was in America. So like to give like credence to your point, to give credit to your point.
Yeah.
Like so music that we're familiar with that we would have been like, oh, of course this like everyone should have known what this that's so recognizable. They might have never heard it in their lives.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and even Colm, who's like the one teaching the music there, talks about how he name drops some musicians from the 17th century.
That's my favorite line in the
And
whole
then he's like, actually, it was the 18th century.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well. That was a great line.
I think that's
Got some laughs.
for my review. I think that's my quote I picked was well, I don't know that name, so that theory is garbage or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a valid point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so recommendations.
If you like slow burns, if you like dramas and you like slow burns, yes. If not, you're going to be kicking yourself the whole time,
or falling asleep.
Yeah. But if you like the kind of more intellectual conversation, philosophical discussion kind of thing, well, I mean, it's not a movie you can just like sit and enjoy. Like you have to think about this movie.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I feel like all of the philosophical things you're doing is not based off of necessarily what they're saying.
yeah.
Because they're
You can't
I
watch
don't
this
think
movie at the surface level. You have to think
many
about it
of
a
these
little bit
characters
deeper.
are not intellectual people.
Yeah.
True. Our education is much better than what they had in 1923 or
Right.
whatever. So, in the middle of an island. So,
All by land. Yeah.
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 Do you recommend it, Brett?
Yeah, in our recommendation system over at What the Fanboy, we have like Booyah, which is like everyone should go see this. Fanboy Worthy is like if you're kind of a fan of this genre, you'll enjoy it, and that's where this falls for me. It's good quality, it's well made. I think it's actually technically very, very, very well made.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're not into like the slow burn, the art house kind of feel, yeah, you probably won't like it. But if you like those, I think this is really good. If you like relationship, if you like drama stuff, as long as you're okay with it being a little slower, this is going to be right up your alley.
I agree.
I mean, I guess we're all kind of in the same boat. This is kind of right up my alley of movie, so it's something that I was very interested in watching, especially seeing all of film Twitter talk about it for the last 3 or 4 days. Made me pretty excited to watch it, and I think this was this the Sundance movie, or was that another one?
I think there's a couple of them. I think
Okay.
this and then
Triangles.
Decision to Leave is definitely one of the
Decision to
Sundance
Leave.
ones.
Okay. But yeah, I do. If you are just a blockbuster-ish theater movie, you are going to get very bored. But if you can appreciate good acting, and
Sorry,
an
real
interesting
quick,
story,
Banshees is Venice.
Venice.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
Then yeah, I think you should at least give it a shot. But you can. It's also something you don't need to see in theaters, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, honestly, I think
you
a
wanna
lot
take a
more
chance.
people may enjoy it if you can watch it at home with like subtitles on.
Yeah,
that's something that
subtitles.
I wished that I had. And I know some theaters will actually
Yeah.
have those. It's a nice accessibility feature for people who are either hard of hearing or deaf. But
We just had that problem the other day. We watched what did we watch, Easton? You Were Never Really Here.
Oh yeah.
We watched that together.
He
and
had an issue with it, not me.
I have not good hearing, and that whole movie, they're all talking like this.
Yeah.
And so I was like, "What is happening? What did he say? So I had to look up like a synopsis like halfway through. And
Yeah, and he was on his phone for like a solid 4 minutes, and I'm like, Trevor, are you even like?
I was like, "What's going on? I don't understand."
I was like, things are happening on like it was like the last 25 minutes where like things finally start ramping up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then
Don't miss it.
he later asked, it was like, so how did this happen? And it was because he was on his phone while I was, but I was like, and then he told me that he was trying to figure out something else that he had missed because he couldn't hear it. And I was like, okay, that makes sense.
yeah, the accents in this are thick.
Very thick. Yeah.
I got used to it by the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first third was kind of like a
Really?
Yeah.
I was doing pretty good. I think there was one word I didn't know.
Was it Rowan?
Yes.
Yeah.
It took
I
me. I
figured
mean,
it
finally,
out.
context clues got me there.
Yeah.
There was another word though that they kept
Apparently,
on saying.
Like Rowan, I mean, we get it from context clues, but like going on a row is like what that comes from. So anyway,
There was another word. I can't remember what it was, but there was another word they said a few times. I'm like, I have no idea what this means, even with the context. But Rowan did take me a solid like 5 or 6 times.
Well, and that
I was
like
glad
the-
they kept repeating
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And then
I think they
could-
did. I think
could
they did
figure
it on
out.
purpose.
That's like a joke because when they have like a back and forth that lasts like at least 20 to 30 seconds with that word, and so like because of that, now you can, like you said, pick it up from context clues, and that's good writing, people.
Yeah.
That's really what that is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And-
I have a really hard time with accents for sure, but I wouldn't say this movie like. I mean, I had to concentrate for sure, but I wasn't like, oh man, I really wish there were subtitles on it. You know, like you can, like I said, you pick up like what they're saying, and after a while, you can like you get more used to it, but. I don't want people to get discouraged, like, oh, I can't watch this, you know.
I think
yeah.
that speaks to the caliber of the acting.
For sure.
You can feel what they mean, even if you don't totally understand it.
Yeah.
And that's good acting, people. Is when that's. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, is it good acting?
Is the good this? Is the good that? Is the good movie? I don't know why I'm Italian now. I can't do an Irish accent. I'm sorry.
Yeah, wrong country on the other side of the pond. Okay, so that's it for the spoiler-free. I'm going to take a short little break, hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back for the spoiler part of the review. Sponsor of today's episode is Newsly. For the first time ever, the entire web becomes listenable all in one place. Newsly is an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android. It picks up the most trending articles on the web and topics you choose at any given moment and reads them to you in a nice voice. You can browse articles from topics you choose and start playing, so you can stop scrolling and start listening. You can follow any topics like sports, tech, business, science, Bitcoin, or even the Kardashians. It will find you the latest articles and read them to you out loud. And they have podcasts as well, exploring trending podcasts from over 80 countries. Our podcast, The Movie Moron, is there too. I started using it as my default podcast app lately, and they even have digital radio. Download and use Newsly for free now at www.newsly.me or from the link in the description, and use promo code THEMM that I will also put in the description and receive a 1 month free premium subscription service. So download the Newsly app now. All right, we are back.
We're back.
After that short little break. Tristan, how are you still surprised by this? This is
it's just
150
so loud.
episodes running. Yeah, we're back after that short little break. And now we're just going to talk about spoilers. So, yeah, if you haven't seen this movie and you care at all, I would go ahead and stop listening to the episode. But I feel like a lot of you...
And
after
instead, go listen to the What the Fanboy podcast.
There you
Oh,
go.
wait, I was supposed to do my plug earlier. Sorry.
No, yeah. If you want to wait for the spoilers, you can go listen to them talk about a plethora of different things. I don't know what movie you guys are doing
Yeah, what
this
was
week.
the last
but-
thing?
Last week we talked about Tales of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And
Last week was kind of a mixture
It
of a lot of
was
stuff.
on weeks when
And-
there's not like a big movie. It is just kind of usually a little.
Some Modern Warfare 2 talk, a lot of trailer reaction stuff. You guys talked about James Gunn being a part of
We did talk about
DC.
that last week.
That was a lot
Yeah.
of the episode. But is there a movie you guys are doing this week, or is it just another shenanigans
Luke
episode?
and I should be talking about All Quiet on the Western Front.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'll probably talk a little bit about this.
This one, yeah. I didn't know if there was a singular movie that you guys all decide to watch, because that's what happens whenever you guys all communally go and watch a movie. That's like the main focus at the end of the episode.
I miss doing that,
You missed doing
guys.
it. Well,
Luke, Tyler.
You guys had Black Adam, where you guys did that
Yeah.
recently.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I guess you tried to get them to come watch this. And it
Tried,
did-
and they said no. They said I have better things to do, and I was
Like
like,
play-
"Are you kidding me?"
like play Destiny 2 and Modern Warfare 2.
Exactly.
I'm not sure if that's what they're doing, but I feel like one of those is right.
Probably at both. For sure.
Okay, so yeah, spoilers. So we can talk about anything. You can talk about all the fingers coming off.
Man, that escalated quickly. I mean,
did.
It really
not really in that like the amount of time it took to escalate
Yeah.
was appropriate, but it was like 1 to 4.
Yeah.
Well, he did
my
say
gosh.
he did mention it. He was like, "Remember how he told you at one time? Next time it's gonna be the rest of them."
He did. He let us know.
He may be an idiot, but at least he is a man of his word.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
but
kind
like
of. He did lie the first time.
Yeah.
he did a really poor job of like letting him talk to him. Like if you're so mad and you don't want this guy to ever talk to you again, but then like the last time when he cuts off the rest of his fingers, he like just let the guy
entertained it.
Yeah, and he was like talking with him back, and he was like taking it all in, and then the guy left, and he wasn't like mad at all.
Well,
And then he just chucks fingers at his door.
I think the only reason why it escalated to that point is because he did his thing, and then he was like, "Okay, we're gonna go back to our normal ways." Because he's like, "Okay, it's 2:30. Let's go get pints."
Was this when he was drunk?
That's still
No,
stupid.
this is when he busted in the door.
When he was talking
And
to
this-
Dominic, and he was like,
So
He
he was
was
"You
drunk.
need to
drunk.
stand
Yeah.
up for
Yeah.
yourself."
Because the reason he goes is because Dominic tells him
Yeah.
that Collin said that he was interesting when he was drunk. Or,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
said, I think, so he just took it and ran with it.
Yeah, but then he
Uh.
reverted right back to his original ways and was like, "Okay, now we're gonna go get a pint and talk like normal." It's like,
Can we talk about the
No.
acting of the dog, though? Like training the dog to pull those shears away?
Yeah.
Yeah. That dog deserves a
Smart
fat
dog.
check.
The dog and the
fat paycheck.
donkey were the two best characters in the movie.
Trevor, what is the dog gonna do with money?
R.I.P. Donkey.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Nothing.
I watched the original Thing recently, and that dog also deserves a fat paycheck. So maybe I'm just on dog actors at the moment.
He can get all the fake bacon he wants.
Yeah.
All the chewy toys.
All the chewy toys, Tristan.
All the bones.
I think
You can get real
90% of dogs deserve all of the good things, though, because dogs.
90 is a high percent. There are some bad
look,
dogs.
I think there are bad dogs, and I think that has more to do with their environment than them themselves.
You can say that for everybody, though.
Okay. Anyway.
No. Dogs are inherently good, Easton. Humans inherently bad. Dogs inherently good.
Is that the Brett take on humanity? We're born bad and have to be
I
learned
just
to be
really
good.
love my dog. Man.
He's like, this got too deep. I just want to talk about my dogs and how they all
They make
deserve
me
the
happy
bones.
inside.
Okay.
Like that donkey made
Yeah.
Yeah.
I made him.
Podrick.
Donkey was a good
Pro-
actor too.
Podrick.
Podrick?
Yeah.
Podrick.
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 It sounds normal if I could say it in an Irish accent, but I can't.
Podrick.
So I'm going with Podrick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the relationship that Podrick has with the
other
donkey,
guy.
but also his sister, is really important to understanding why he does what he does.
Keep going.
I gotta pull something out of my butt here. No, well, because this is a community where there are not a lot of people, and it seems like most people get along with each other fairly well, but there are very few really close relationships, and throughout we kind of see this idea that his sister has these ambitions that are greater than the island. And then he has a relationship with this donkey who just seems to like him, and he himself is not a overly complicated, or I mean they call him dull, right, which I took to mean maybe a little simple, maybe a little not as
To be
intelligent.
fair though, that's like the pot calling the kettle black.
Oh
in
no,
this
movie.
And it says that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because it says, the sister says, you're all dull.
Yeah.
All of you men are dull. None
Yeah.
of you have anything of worth to say All you're
Yeah.
doing is wasting space until you die.
But
Yeah.
Podrick's
Well, that's a
got
little
this
too far,
one
but-
No, I mean,
relationship
that's what you thought,
outside of the people in it, or the person and animal in his house that all of a sudden just
It's taken away
is taken away,
Yeah.
cut off.
with no explanation. It just happens.
Yeah. And then there is a little bit of explanation, but as we're kind of told later on, maybe he doesn't completely understand what that means or the consequences to that, and that's where we get the ramping up of consequences, because initially he does not believe it,
Yeah.
and
Well, and even that was just bad luck that it happened to be April Fool's Day.
right.
That was
I thought
good,
that was very
though.
clever.
Yeah.
Very clever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, I just now got that. I didn't even catch it.
Easton.
Because they just kept on saying that the day or the month ran over or something.
Yeah.
Oh,
They didn't
were
actually-
saying it in a strange way.
Yeah, they didn't
but,
say
yeah.
it was the 1st of April. So
Right.
I was like, why do they keep on talking about how it's no
Yeah.
longer March?
He just marked it off on his calendar. And
Yeah,
that's
well.
why.
Yeah.
My title's there for a reason, I
Intensely
guess.
as he possibly could.
Yeah. Look, he doesn't have much to look forward to in life. A new month is
Mark
great.
it off that calendar is
It's a big deal.
man,
Yeah.
Well, and there's no internet to tell you what day it is. You've got to keep track yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
fair.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would always be like, if I was manually doing it, I would get lost of like, did I mark it at the beginning of the day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
You
would
would
mark
have
it
to have like very strict.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you also have to make sure your sister didn't mark it that day.
Look, one person is in charge of the calendar.
Right. I really appreciated kind of going along with what you said about how like it just kind of seems to happen from Podrick's standpoint. It just kind of seems to happen all of a sudden. I enjoyed the conversations Callum had with the priest, talking because the priest they mentioned that Callum's been having trouble with despair, and I think ultimately from what I took from it was that is what prompts him to stop talking to Podrick, is because he kind of gets this idea of I mean, he says that too in the movie. He says, my days are numbered and like I can't just waste my time with dull conversation and like just talk about nothing anymore. I need to like make sure my time counts and I want to spend it how I want to spend it. I thought that was a very well done writing wise that we get to see that, but it's not given to us directly.
Yeah.
Sure. So the reason why I think that this movie is ultimately stupid is because of the exaggerations that it decides to do. Our main character goes from I'm going to be best friends with this guy, or I am best friends with this guy, to I don't ever want to see him again. I know that's the whole premise, but I think that premise is a little far-fetched. If his idea is that you're dull and I want to limit my time, like I want to make my time useful on the earth, you can still delegate your time. And if you had a friendship that had lasted however many years, like you could say, hey, look, I need to focus on my music. I need to focus on this. Like I have friends that are trying to focus on what they're trying to do. And you don't just like, okay, I can no longer be friends with you because I need to do all of my time doing this. Cause he's not doing that. He's also going to the bar and playing his tunes for the girls and all of that. This guy can be there too. There's no reason for this over the top, thing. What?
This was, I'm sorry. You
No.
sounded angry.
Don't apologize.
This was not entirely, so don't come at me.
I will.
But I definitely felt like maybe this was an equivalent to like ghosting
Oh, okay.
back then.
Yeah, but you usually ghost a partner, not a friend.
But I mean, still,
But
just in general.
it's
And
still
also
a
neither
Neither of these
relationship
people
that
have
you don't.
partners.
Gotcha.
though,
Well,
so-
and ghosting is
true.
usually something done in an early talking stage of things.
Okay, but that's now. I'm
It's not
I'm
a
just
perfect-
saying
it's not a
like
perfect analogy.
Okay.
yeah. See,
Okay.
I
No, I
said
actually
don't
agree,
come at
Kristen.
me. Thank you.
I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyways, that's what I didn't like because there were several times throughout the film where I'm like, okay, you're doing these drastic things, and I'm like, you're still spending time doing other things. So like, you don't like. That's such a over the top way of it because I'm also going to this like they talk about how they were best friends. They spent all this time together. If you have a best friend, you're spending all this time together. There's no like.
But who do we hear that from? We hear that from Podrick, not necessarily Colm. My gut reaction to that would be the relationship that they had was way more important to Podrick than ever was.
Yeah.
to Colm.
I agree
Yeah.
with that.
And so,
But that doesn't
maybe,
mean-
maybe there was some legitimate like when we just don't see it because the movie needs to happen. Leading up to the events of the movie, there could have been some of those. Maybe I'm gonna kind of hint at him, and he never really gets it because
Yeah.
he's a little dull. And so then this was just it's not maybe not explained super well if that was
No,
the case.
I think it's
but-
explained well. I just don't, especially with an island like this, and you also can't expect someone to never speak to you ever again in an island where there's 28 people.
You know, it's funny, but in non-spoilers, you said, I'm curious to see whose side is on who, and you've been kind of ambiguous about that.
Yeah.
Whose side do you think you're on?
Well, I can't say his name, but Collin Ferrel is 100%.
Okay, I can
Podrick.
tell that because you're
Yeah.
coming at it from his angle.
Mm-hmm.
His angle is you used to be nice, and you like, why can't you be nice like I am? Why can't you be nice like the rest of us?
Well,
But I think in adversity to what you're thinking,
oh no, I knew you were going to be on the side of the other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he literally told me that.
Colm is 100% within his right to be like. I don't think he went about it the right way at
I didn't
all.
say he doesn't have a right to.
No, but but you're saying it sounds like he has to keep this relationship, but Colm doesn't have to do anything.
No, I didn't say that he has to. I'm saying it doesn't make sense because,
But it doesn't have to make sense.
well, for a movie, I think it has to make sense.
Well, the movie has to happen.
That's, I guess, fair, but I guess if you want illogical things to happen
is
for your
stressing
movie
me
to
out.
be made,
I-
I don't like it.
I think the
Feel-
movie asks you to suspend your disbelief at a point of, for the movie to happen, for this movie to happen, there
Yeah,
has to
it
be a
makes you-
dramatic cutoff.
And it has to have illogical
And you don't
reasoning.
have to accept that, but I think the movie is asking that of you.
Yeah, and that's I don't like that aspect.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
that's
like
fine.
when things are telling me to believe things that are illogical, and especially for a movie that's supposed to be super realistic. Like this is supposed to be a
I
realistic story.
feel
being
like
told.
this movie is a hyperbole of the situation.
That's possible. Yeah.
That's
think-
how I took it.
I think most filmmaking tends to be let's show an extreme.
Yeah, let's push it.
They may not make it extreme. It may be a soft extreme, but I think to get more emotional reaction out of your characters, you do tend to see filmmakers lean into extremes. Something like what was the Adam McKay movie from last year? The asteroid one.
Oh,
don't look up.
Don't look up.
Okay.
Another example of, but it's an example of extremes, right?
Sure.
Of like, oh well,
But that movie is also supposed to be a comedy.
this is a comedy,
But
though.
I mean, like satirical comedy.
Oh, sure.
This is not a
This is
satirical comedy.
This is a dark comedy.
Yeah. So yeah, our opposite character is also supposed to be this super intellectual, philosophical man, and I don't find him to be that at all.
Man, I did
think
not
he
pick up on
I
that
didn't get that
though.
either.
I didn't get
You didn't get that at all?
intellectual, No,
I think he tried to be.
That's what I'm saying.
But I don't think that he. I mean, this seemed like.
It seems like he
Probably.
thinks that he's above Collin Ferrel,
I
and he
see
thinks
that.
that talking to Collin Ferrel is making him less smart and less.
No, I didn't get that.
I don't think less smart. I think he just has this existential dread of what am I going to be remembered by?
Yeah.
And it comes down to I'm either going to be remembered by my music or the fact that I cut off my freaking fingers.
I never thought about the second part, but yeah, that makes sense.
I didn't either.
I think he. I
That
mean, kind
makes
of when
sense.
That's
you reference
why
the
I
Banshees
said
of Irisherin.
He's egotistical. Is
They
because
become that thing.
Yeah, it's a struggle to become immortal.
He becomes immortal
So
in
he
a
gets
way that he couldn't with his music
Yeah,
by doing this other crazy thing.
yeah.
Well, I also
Yeah.
am very adverse to people thinking the only thing that's worth living for is making a name past yourself.
like a legacy.
Yeah,
type
I
deal.
am very strongly against that because there's much more to life than just having something beyond your death.
Oh,
so,
sure.
And that's what his character is he's saying there's no reason to have these conversations and have these friendships because I need to focus on having something that lives past myself. And I think that's inherently terrible.
It's maybe a little egotistical.
That's I think he's a very egotistical,
Sure, but
uptight
I have a
But
question for you.
those-
personality. What?
Go ahead.
Do you want to have kids?
Yeah.
So then you, on some small scale, you do feel that.
No, I'm not saying it's bad to want things to go past you.
Yeah.
I'm saying that your whole life should not be. He's trying to center his whole life. If I want something, like the point of life is to live past my death.
Yeah.
I think the
And my whole point of my
his-
life, like me having kids, is not to have me live past myself.
Yeah.
It's because there is joy in having children and having a family. There's joy that is brought within that, and joy in having those relationships. He is foregoing relationships to have this separate entity of, his is music, but you could say art, you could say movies, you could say whatever you want to live past himself. Or even if it's the cutting off his fingers, whatever. He wants to be known past his death. And I think there's no point in being known past your death.
I think there is.
Well,
and I-
that's when the opposing, because you
Right.
two are very different
because-
in the way that you go about relationships and the way that you talk to people and the way that you live your life is very different. So that would make sense
Can
that
I
you guys are
present a middle
disagreeing.
ground here?
Never.
Please.
You are in the middle, so
Dang
go
it.
for it.
No,
Yeah, we
I
set up in a very good
I
way
think-
here.
because I think he what I took away from Colm is that for 60, 70 years maybe he's tried that. He lives alone with his dog. He's not married. He's not going to have kids at this point in his life. I think he's just looking for purpose now.
Which is
and
fine.
That
Yeah.
purpose, he's not feeling fulfilled with his relationship with Podrick. So why would he continue to do that? Why would he not chase something else? And then again, because it's a movie and we go overboard,
Sure, yeah.
it gets more dramatic than it ever needs to get. But
Yeah.
it
And
makes
I-
the movie entertaining.
And like I
more
said, I don't think
entertaining.
it's wrong for him to say that, like, I don't want to be friends with you anymore. And in any sense of that, if you need to be direct and say, I don't want to be friends anymore, I don't think that's wrong for him to say,
Yeah.
or do. But to say you can't ever talk to me again is something that just doesn't logically make sense in that scenario. Because of their island, because of the island they live in. And I understand Collin Farrell's character is an idiot and can't realize that, like, he doesn't want to be friends anymore. Like that, like this relationship is practically over. You are now just acquaintances that live in the same town. And so I guess that's why we need our extreme, but it's just too much of an extreme for, I guess, me to.
And also from Podrick's side, if you think about it, they went to the pub every single day at the same time. And if he is very dull and simple-minded, that's what you do every day. And if he didn't have another like friendship, it seemed like from the townspeople that those two, they were like best friends and they were always together. And so when that's taken away from you and you weren't expecting it, even if there were clues or whatever, if you weren't expecting it, that's like a total shift of everything. And it's like, okay, well, what do I do
almost kind of
with
see
myself?
it as a divorce that you're not thinking of happening at all. You have a relationship that you're very close to the other person for an extended amount of time, and then out of nowhere, it just cuts off and is like, oh, there's no relationship anymore. Like that's something that's like hard to understand and doesn't quite make sense. I guess I don't know which side I'm really fighting for there, because I guess you could say that happens all the time. So it is plausible, but but for his Collin Ferrel's side, like that comes out of nowhere, and you're not expecting that to happen, and it's hard to come to reality with that situation, and you're gonna try to fight for your relationship. So, and that's kind of what I find him doing throughout the majority of the movie is like,
it's interesting though, because
you're fighting for your relationship.
They do position, you have this kind of main thread, and then they have this sub thread of Dominic and his Podrick's sister, and this idea that Dominic is very interested in his sister.
Yeah.
Well, Dominic's into any woman.
Sure, but for this example, I mean, in the movie, you have Podrick coming from a place of reason, right? Being like, well, don't say anything, creepy, don't do the like. It's a mirror of what Colm and Podrick are doing, right? It's different, but it's that same idea in that he can get it when it's his sister and this town loony, but not when it's him and his previous best friend.
Yeah.
I thought it was an interesting kind of parallel there.
Yeah.
They insert him in to.
Well, I can say talking to you guys about it has made me move a position a little bit of like, I guess the extreme isn't as extreme, so is not necessarily terrible. But that's just how I was feeling during the movie.
Sure.
And,
Yeah.
how I thought about it.
No, and I think that's intentional as a filmmaker. I think you want people to feel, whether that's immense.
Oh no! Now you're giving me more Lester vibes.
Joy. Oh no! I have thoughts for you on your
My rant.
X
X
yeah,
rant.
Yeah, your thoughts on X. But I think it's okay for a filmmaker to want to make you discomfortable, put you in a place of discomfort or a place of I do not like that, or I'm mad at this character for that. That's, I think, what they're trying to do.
Oh,
I've been talking for a while.
No, you're fine.
Give you the floor.
I think the witchy woman was shallow.
She was the one piece that I never really worked in.
I think she's because Ireland's a very like whimsical mythology and things like that, and I think she does call the end. She says two people are going to die, or I don't think she says people. I think she just says two will die.
Yeah,
which she's right. It's the Dominic and the donkey. Yeah.
Too many D's in this movie.
So I mean, I just kind of took it at face value for what it was. She's just Ireland's like mythical figure or whatever, and she just was there to kind of help pinpoint the plot, maybe, or maybe I guess if you want to get this is a super deep cut that I'm just making up at the top of my head. You could say she's telling this story to somebody. And she's like, because she's there in the beginning and the end, she goes and sits where Collin's house is.
It is possible this whole thing is a story, because I found it very odd that multiple times throughout the film he had his finger or fingers gone, and people didn't really act like it was that crazy of a thing.
And he doesn't he bandages it once.
Yeah.
And, every
twice.
other time. Oh well.
Yeah.
And
but
then
not
every
often.
other time,
it's just bleeding.
a bloody stump.
Yeah. And also in 1923, that would have been infected, and you probably would have died.
Yeah.
I thought
the movie was going to end. I thought he was going to cut that finger off and then get gangrene.
Maybe
or
this
something.
is all just a story of somebody retelling a story, and they're obviously adding some exaggerations to it.
I like that actually.
Adding context to it too, across the strait on the mainland, they have the Irish Civil War
war
happening,
going on.
Mm-hmm.
and at the very end, the last conversation is very much in tone with,
This will never end.
maybe they'll be done fighting, and it's like, oh, some things never get resolved.
Yeah.
And it's like maybe this is in some way a parable for that.
I don't know that war very well, so I can't
either.
speak.
Did we miss the Civil War talk?
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
You
sorry.
missed it.
Oh, we just mentioned it.
Oh,
we
okay.
didn't go real deep.
I was going to say I agree. If
Trevor
you're
on
talking
his
about-
phone again.
Well, I'm looking up to see if it's based on anything. Yeah, I like that it was set to the backdrop of it's just conflict everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, he was just saying that he think it might be a parable of the Civil War in general.
Yeah,
These two
I'd
people
agree
fighting
with that.
back and forth.
Could be.
That were best friends forever, and out of nowhere, you're just... That's what civil wars are. You're
Yeah.
best friends, and out of nowhere, it's like, you know what? No, I want to kill you now. It's
Yeah.
not usually how it goes, but it's usually many more
It's
steps
very
there.
rational, and therefore Easton doesn't believe civil wars could ever happen.
That's true. No, it's usually there's a ramping up to a civil war. Very long
Fair
ramping
enough.
up.
Fair enough.
But sometimes you don't get all the context.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh. What was it gonna say? Oh, do you have
I have
something?
something. Yeah. What do you guys think of when the policeman punched what's his name in the face and then the guy helped him?
I thought it was like I thought it was Colum's way of being like I'm not your friend, but like I'm not gonna not help you in this moment.
Or
That's
like
so harsh.
I think it's kind of like he still cares for him,
That's what
Yeah,
I was thinking.
yeah.
but it's like I can't deal with you anymore. Like I can't deal with you as in like as a friend anymore, but I still care for you and don't want you to die. I don't want people to abuse you.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is ironic for how the movie ends.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I do think it's
The policeman really upset me throughout the film.
Oh,
But I think
he
it was obviously
awful.
purposeful.
it was intentional.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
with
get
him
it.
naked, I was not expecting that.
Talk about shots that linger too long.
I'm like, ah!
Well, and then every time I was on screen afterward, I was like, we saw him naked earlier.
I didn't even realize that was his dad.
Oh,
yeah. Well,
Until-
him in a police officer suit and him in his birthday suit are very different.
Well, I didn't know the police was his dad until he specifically says it later in the film.
Yeah, I didn't
until they
either,
call
but
it.
that's what I'm saying. Like, they look completely different.
Yeah.
Well, the policeman is not given enough screen time, I think, at the beginning for you to be like, oh, okay, like he's important. I need to remember
Right.
his face.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
oh no, he's the local lawman. Okay, yada yada yada.
I wish it would have stayed that way, but
Yeah.
No, I really enjoyed that moment of seeing Calm like stand up,
show humanity.
show some
And
humanity.
it shows that he's
Yeah.
not just a complete
Yeah.
dick. And like, because that's
does.
the whole thing is it's saying that he's not being nice anymore. Nice. Well, he's still nice. He's just a little crazy and doing some crazy things
Yeah.
and being a little over the top, but
And I think it does. I think it does do a bit for the audience too, to move us back towards like, oh, maybe he's not like.
Yeah.
We can empathize with him a little more because he's human. At least
Yeah.
he's not letting someone get abused in the middle of the street by law enforcement, right? Like,
yeah.
well, he did let him get abused, but
well,
He was
But he
also
was
far away.
yeah. But he went and helped him afterwards.
he helped
It was
him
pretty
afterward.
far.
Trevor's got
So
some.
I'm finding some cool stuff here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the director this is basically a love letter to Ireland. His mother is Irish. And so a lot of it's they did some time trying to like form like the quintessential Irish landscape. Went along, I think it's called the Kinsey Islands, which is off of Ireland, things like that. I think the Banshee is the woman because
Okay.
Banshees in Irish folklore are supposed to foretell death, which she does. She does
Yeah.
it verbally, but she also motions to Dominic. It looks like she's motioning to the woman.
But it could be
It
Dominic.
could, yeah. And so I wonder if that's, yeah.
That's
So
That adds
so
a whole
that's-
nother layer of
Right.
complexity here.
But yeah, it just seems like this is kind of just like it. The whole movie, it seems like it's supposed to be based off of like Irish folklore and like tales of caution and things like that. So,
interesting.
yeah. Anyway, a little fun deep dive there. And
It's so fun. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Well, do you guys have anything else you want to?
Well, I just want
state?
do we feel like this movie needed the John Wick moment of
Yes.
I'm
Anything
If
with
you're
John
about to
Wick.
recommend that the dog dies, I'm
I'm
gonna have to say
getting a
no.
sense. No. Of like, well, the donkey dies, right? And in
Yeah.
John Wick, it was the dog, and in Pig, it was the pig.
Aw.
Spoilers, I guess, if you
Tristan's
haven't,
still
if you
not over
haven't
it.
seen that movie.
Spoilers for the first. I guess never mind.
Yeah, right.
It's a reveal.
But I guess it made sense to me that kind of that is what would tip him over.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it does seem like it's a trope now more than ever.
Yeah.
Are
that's
we
fair.
okay with that? Still being
Oh,
a
I'm
trope?
okay with it. Yeah.
I mean,
Because it's for me, it's not just that the donkey died. That was the last thing he had.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
that's true.
because
Yeah.
his sister left.
everything is taken away from him in
Yeah.
less than a day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that it's like, okay, so like before I was trying to salvage our friendship, now you're an enemy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, I didn't want to be an acquaintance to you, but I'll be an enemy.
Yeah.
So like, I think that's kind of where it kind of.
Yeah.
Well, and I
kinda
like what
went
you
to.
said earlier, what I then heard earlier about the Civil War being like a representation of this, because I found it really interesting that he says, "Thanks for watching my dog," and instead of being like "no problem" or "you're welcome," he says "anytime."
Yeah.
To show like, I'll do it again if you
Yeah.
want me to burn your house down the second time.
Well, it's like, no, I care for your dog, not you.
Yeah.
Because he did say that he wished he
Yeah.
didn't leave the house.
This would have been over if you'd have stayed in the house.
Yeah.
And now it's not. Oh, that was such a cold line.
It
Yeah,
was.
goosebumps.
It's good delivery too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spooky.
But if you think about it, it's kind of a callback to the beginning when he was knocking on his door and he just stayed in the house. And
Yeah.
He wouldn't come out to see
Oh
him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just sitting there smoking. Which
Um,
they
I
said
I
about
love that. I
5
love that
times.
reveal though when he is putting all of the wood up,
and he does
starts
finally.
the
Yeah.
fire, and he actually
I
does.
didn't think he was gonna check.
does go back and
Yeah.
check, and then you
Yeah.
just see him call him in there, just sitting,
Yeah.
I thought he was going to open the door and try to like.
get him out.
Yeah, I thought he was going to try to like he was just talking the talk again. But
Yeah.
I'm glad it was like a, like I'm done moment.
Commit to the descent into madness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they both committed at some point into the
Oh
descent
yeah,
of
no,
madness,
for
so.
sure.
Well, we know who we side with. Do you guys side with anyone?
No.
one, or one?
Tristan's like the sister.
Yeah. Leave town.
The one who
Sister
got
was
out
great.
of town.
Yeah, she's great. Yeah, get out.
I don't know if I.
You don't have to. I was just curious.
No. It's. I don't know if I side with anyone in the fact that I think the movie does a good job of justifying each person's emotional reaction up
Okay.
to a point. You know, I would never
Burn down someone's house.
burn down someone's house or
Chop off your fingers.
yeah, encourage self mutilation. But I don't know. I wouldn't. I think this movie does a good job at not necessarily pointing to one and being like they are at fault.
Yeah.
And maybe siding with is maybe who we identify more
Sure,
with would be
sure.
a better way to phrase that.
Yeah, and I think I identify with both of them.
Yeah, the only
in
thing
a weird way because
Yeah.
I have down to my core I have a very strong belief that being good and being kind is enough. At the same
And it
time,
means
I
something.
have this weird and it means something.
Yeah.
But I have this strong desire to legacy,
Yeah.
leave something behind. I don't know what that is, but as I think especially as creatives, there's that strong pull to like I've impacted someone else's life by something I've produced, I've made.
Sure.
Yeah.
But you can still do that with just living your life and being kind.
Yeah.
I
Right.
think at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have to say that the only thing I disliked, well, his decisions down the line, Collin Ferrel's, of course,
Sure.
were all way out of line. And then the whole nice guy syndrome thing definitely played a big part. That I was like, this is a little much, Collin. You got to back off a little bit. There's being nice, and then there's just telling everyone that you're the nice guy. Like, and it did that a lot. Now I think everybody else kind of reinforced it. So it wasn't
he was more like an echo box. Like he just whatever he heard, he would spit out.
Yeah.
Like 10 minutes later.
Dominic has a really good line about how after Podrick has sent off the violinist, the student,
Oh, yeah.
and he was like, "I thought you were the nice guy. I thought
Yeah.
you were different than everyone else."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it almost reinforced Podrick's then desire to commit.
No longer be the
I'm
nice
not
guy.
the nice guy. I guess I'm just gonna go.
Well, I think
Yeah.
And
I
if
think
I don't
it's
have niceness, I don't have anything.
well. I also think it was what did niceness get me?
Yeah.
I have been nice to everyone around me, and my sister left me. My donkey died. My best friend no longer wants to be around me. Is willing to kill himself
Yeah.
practically
Yeah.
to not be around me anymore. All I have is to drink and to hang out with these animals that, my favorite one died.
That now live in my house.
That now live in my house. And so it was like, where did niceness get me?
Yeah.
And so that might be also another theme that I dislike of like, niceness brings no joy or anything, because it's like being good is a positive thing for both you and the people around you. And I guess maybe sometimes you won't always see the reflections of that, and maybe sometimes you will, but
I don't know if that's when you talk about that as being a theme, I would say that's a revelation that a character has, but it's not the point that the filmmaker is trying to make.
yeah.
Because
like I
think,
said, that one scene though where he's doing the whole "I'm the nice guy" thing, like that feels very deliberate, especially with our culture of like the nice guys and like people like guys like I'm nice, you like I should be receiving things because I'm the good guy. So I thought that was that was specific for our culture as well.
Sure.
Or maybe it was just he's dull, he repeats things that he's heard, he's hurt, and he's trying to contemplate why these things are happening, and his only response is, I'm nice, why don't you like me? I didn't do anything, I'm nice to you. So maybe it's not, maybe I'm reading deeper into it than I should, but I don't know.
I think this movie and its writing and its acting does a good job of letting us explore those muddy waters at least. Maybe not everything is as easy to define in terms of morality.
Right.
And I said earlier, the philosophical things you'll contemplate are not necessarily things said. It's just the things that you pick up from it, because most of our characters don't have an excessive amounts of knowledge or intellectual things.
Well, and I think for me, something that makes me angry about society is that people have to, a lot of times, a person doesn't give another person any kindness or any attention until they do something that person likes. And then if they do something that person likes, then they think that they deserve kindness or they deserve their attention. But I firmly believe that people deserve attention and kindness just for being a person. You don't have to do anything or be anything in order to deserve love and kindness and attention. And so that mindset in this movie is like, and that's what makes me think a lot about this, because they are dull, they are simple, especially Podrick. And I don't think that Colm, I don't think that if he doesn't want to be his friend anymore, that's fine, because I've definitely been in situations where someone wants my attention a lot more than I'm able to give them or want to give them. But that's not how you do it. And so it's a
slippery slope.
It's a
I
sometimes words can't describe how you're feeling. So
Yeah.
you just
back
gotta throw
down
some
to
sounds.
where do we give value to each other?
yeah.
Is value simply a byproduct of other value? Like,
Yeah.
I value you because you are valuable to me.
Yeah.
Or are you valuable because you exist?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Thank you.
I'm working. The wheels are all turning.
You said that.
Yeah.
You said the same thing in different ways.
Just with some
So
sound
now
effects.
everybody,
and- yeah.
Now people that have different ways of thinking can both get that same conclusion.
Yeah.
So now do we have anything else, or do we wrap it all up? Any other thoughts or?
I just want to say it's nice to talk about like this kind of movie. I was just looking back at like what we've seen this year, and like Turning Red and Bodies.
Dude, people love
and
Turning
Top
Red,
Gun
so-
Maverick, and like it's nice to talk about something that's a little more than just surface level.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe next time we have a bonus episode. We'll just watch Manchester by the Sea and just.
Oh my goodness.
Although next week I think is Wakanda Forever, so this is gonna be short lived.
Yeah, so you had a long episode this week. Next week will be short and sweet. So
There we go.
Not to give too much away.
well, we haven't seen it, but I just have a feeling. Okay, so
I haven't seen Black Panther though.
Well, I guess you're gonna have to watch Black Panther.
Double feature.
Okay.
You can watch it on your own. I'm kidding. I haven't.
Oh wow.
I haven't seen it since
Really?
I think since it got released. So in theaters.
I think I watched it on a tour bus one time. I think that was the last time I watched it.
I remember
That was another one of those movies that was
enjoyed it.
really good the
Yeah.
first time I watched it, and then
not as good the second.
well, it
Lost some of its flair.
it has the Marvel third act
Got any more
issue,
I'm trying. Oh,
and I don't think I really processed that the first time, and.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's a good performance. Chadwick
Yeah.
Boseman's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, but I do think that it's probably not going to be as good the second time, and I have a feeling the sequel is going to be much less. And that's another overrated movie though, because Black Panther is like rated as 1 or 2 of the best Marvel movies, and I'm like, oof, that's a miss.
It's an
That's your
important
opinion.
Marvel.
We all know it's
Important Marvel movie.
We all know Iron Man 3 sits at the throne. Okay, so ratings for this one.
To no one's surprise, 5 out of 5.
Brett?
In terms of out of 5s, I will also give it a 5 out of 5 personally. In our fanboy rankings,
gonna say,
I will
let's hear it.
still give it a fanboy worthy.
Yeah, you gave it
Yeah.
Fanboy. Yeah.
which you all know earlier, but
Yeah.
5 out of 5.
Okay.
4.
I've been teetering between 4 and 4.5 this whole time, so it's obviously still something I very much enjoyed. I think I'm sitting at
do
4. Yeah, we do halves. Well, he doesn't do
I don't
halves.
It takes
I
a lot
do.
for me to do a half.
I'll commit to solid numbers only.
I appreciate it.
Solid numbers? That's
Yeah.
not a thing.
Yeah, solid numbers.
Whole numbers.
Whole numbers.
And she says she doesn't know math.
Ayo.
I think I will sit at a 4 for now. And then I don't know if it just will be me thinking about it. And I think it's more of just like the enjoyment factor is not necessarily there. Like it's good, but there's good, and then like I enjoyed watching it, so it's kind of a balance of whether that is enough to be 4.5. I don't know.
Fair enough.
So it may be revised as I think about it more, or look back at my ratings and I'm like, wait, I have this at a 4 and this at a 4.5. Okay, I should move this one up. So that happens every once in a while.
I do that throughout the year.
I
too.
try
It's
not
like,
to. I try not to, but every once in a while there's an edit.
I don't think that your opinion of a movie should ever be static.
No, I don't think so either. I'm just saying I try not to micromanage my ratings too much.
That's fair.
But
Yeah.
anytime I rewatch a movie, I will change or keep it the same. Like that's a time where I will change if I'm like, oh, I like this much more than I first did, or less. But I try not to be like too much of, oh, I have this at a 4.5, but I have this at a 4, so I should bump this down or up. I try not to do that too much because it can get way too complicated.
Yeah.
You liked it that time. That's where it's at. You watch it again. I'll change it. But yeah, I'm still in the process. I probably won't review this on Letterboxd for another 2 months. So I'm trying to fix that, but it's not working. But maybe by then I'll have it somewhere else or stick the same. So that's it for today's episode. Thank you, Brett, for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
The episode. More than welcome to come in for all the other Oscar movie. Well, possibly Oscar movies. I don't know. This is just Oscar season movies. As well as your other What the Fanboy peeps. And go check out his podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. I listen on Spotify because that's where I listen to all my stuff. But you can listen to wherever you do, or catch them live on Twitch, where you can annoy them in the chat like I do, and get them to answer all my questions.
We love it.
And yeah, they do questions at the very end of every episode, and they
you
try
can-
to they answer the Twitch ones. Oh, not first, but they'll answer your Twitch ones. So
Yeah. If you comment on Twitch, that's great. If you're not into Twitch but you still listen, you can always shoot us an email at whatthefanboy@gmail.com, or just hit us up on social media over on Twitter or Instagram.
Yeah. Okay, so that's it for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. Next week will be Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Wakanda forever.
No one can hear you, Trevor, but
Wakanda forever.
I think that was the same volume. But nonetheless, thank you guys so much for listening, and have a good one.
Hey, moron!
You talking to me? You talking to me?
And there seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
Hello?
What?
idiot!
Well, what do you expect? I'm the movie Moron.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
Don't call me stupid.
Oh, right! To call you stupid would be an insult to stupid people! I've known sheep that could outwit you.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
Man, you are one pathetic loser. No offense.
No, none taken.